Hello everyone, this is NWR Green 5 Productions. Welcome back to another video. So, a few months ago, in May of this year, I uploaded a video showing off my second iteration of my LEGO Thomas the Tank Engine. Now, since that video, I've actually gotten a job, so I was able to save up some money and buy some more parts. And with that, I was able to build the version of Thomas the Tank Engine that I actually wanted to build at the time of the last video, because I had recently redesigned Thomas in December, but I did not have any way to rebuild him until July of this last year. So eventually, once I got the money, I bought the pieces and I rebuilt Thomas into this that you see here. This new Thomas is probably only about 30 studs long, as opposed to the 33 stud long one that I showed off earlier. That was just because the blueprints I was using for redesigning Thomas were just the original E2 design, which was 30 feet long, that they just drew the side tank extension on right there, the extended side tanks. They just drew that on top of them, so that's why he's not perfectly 33 studs long anymore. But other than that thing with the locomotive being just a few studs shorter, the entire rest of it is much more to scale. I updated the design to be 9 studs wide, which I know that doesn't sound quite in scale, but if you look it up, the E2s were actually 8 foot 10 inches wide. So that basically rounds up to 9 feet. And in 1 to 38 scale, a stud is 1 foot, so that's why I did that. I believe this one is also about 12 studs tall, at least to the top of the cab. So yeah, this model is a pretty good size. It doesn't quite roll as well as the other one, although you can see it still rolls pretty well. That's just because the frames I built for it are not built in quite the best way, because I tried to add suspension to this model especially, which it does work pretty well, but it makes, with how the springy pieces I used in it are, it's kind of makes it harder to get the frames to actually be the correct length and everything. The wheelbase is 16 studs long though, which is right in line with the real E2s. And I've put rubber bands onto the wheels to make the flanges more in scale, at least on the wheels that have flanges here. And I plan to replace these wheels eventually with some 3D printed ones. If I flip it onto the bottom, I'm going to show you the suspension mechanism really quick. Don't mind the gear, because that's just me trying to motorize it, which it can't currently be, so. But anyways, this is the method that I showed off in my suspension mechanisms video that uses the flex tube to hold one of those Technic connectors for the axle to go through, and it works really well, honestly. I don't have any actual flex tubes, so this is actually just some random tubing that I've cut down to fit in there, but it still works really, really well. And I bet if this model were just a little bit heavier, so that was more in scale on the weight side, it would definitely be an obvious thing that this locomotive has suspension. I mean, you can kind of see a little bit when it rolls that the wheels have some give to them, but it's not very obvious. I do have a little bit of room in here if I take the boiler off to show you. To put in an internal valve gear because of how I built the frames to be extra thin as well. I tried to make the frames as in scale as I could too. So, yeah, there's that. Yeah, this is a mock-up of a internal cylinder. It's probably not accurate to the scale because I think I might have got the length and width wrong or mixed up or something. But yeah, there's that. You can see the axle of the front wheel there, and the brakes, and then the axle of the middle wheel right there. There's also this cool firebox area, which in the back there you might be able to see that orange flame, coming out of the coal there. And that's actually visible from inside the cab too, so I thought that was really cool detail to add. Jumping over to the cab and the coal bunker here, you can see I again added extra room inside there for coal to be added. And then if I take the roof off really quick, which is a two-hand job by the way, you can see the running, well, it's the footplate of the cab and then the controls right there. So I think I mentioned this in the last video, but some of the gauges on here are the same ones that are used in the Orient Express in the cab, and they're like the little clock pieces that they decided looked really good as the gauges in there. I've got a little boomerang piece up there for one of the bars, and then I've got the reversing lever right there by Sir Topham Hatt in the corner of the cab. So yeah, very interesting detailed cab. Not as detailed as the other one, I don't think, because it's not, I didn't have as much to put in there. I didn't have as much room this time either because it just, I built it more to scale, but I think it looks pretty good. Moving on to some other aspects of the locomotive. The cab again uses the Lord of the Rings ring pieces to make the little windows on it. And then the lamp here, it's the same as the one I used in the last one, except for I added this little piece on the top to add a little bit more detail on it. There's also that one and one on the back. So I actually added one more lamp, I believe, and I added some detail to the lamps I have. Another thing you'll notice with this model is that I actually was able to line it this time. So I put onto this model some little vinyl stickers. I just cut them out of a piece of vinyl by hand and put them on, kind of like how if you've ever seen Larry's Lego, he does that with his models. He just hand cuts the stickers, which can come out pretty bad if you don't know how to do it right, like how my number one did over here. But from far away, you can't really tell the difference, so there's that. I was thinking of putting some yellow around the red lining on here and putting an NWR on the coal bunker right there, but I'm not sure I can cut that fine yet. So, yeah, If you do want me to do that in the future, though, just let me know in the comments, because I do read all of those. So yeah. This one also has a slightly different buffer than the last one. The last one, I believe, was just a 1x1 round tile attached to the cone. But this time I just put a tile with a bar on the top and attached it to the cone like that. And it actually looks, I think, a little bit better because you can get that little gap that the buffers usually have. It's just not flat over here, as you can see. One more cool thing about the buffer mechanism that I'm going to show you really quick is if I can hook up this mock-up of a freight car that I've been designing really quick, which I'm probably going to have to pause the video for again. Okay, I've hooked it up. So you can see right here that it's literally just a Lego chain piece, and you can just push the freight car, and the chain is connected to a little red crowbar in there. I'm not sure if you can see it if the camera's focusing, but yeah, you can push it, or you could actually pull it as well. Now this mechanism, it's basically just a crowbar attached to a Lego 5-link chain, I believe it is. And the crowbar is slit through a little Technic brick in the buffer beam. And then the end of the crowbar has like a little hand clip attached to it. And around that clip, there's a rubber band that's attached elsewhere in the locomotive. So you can push or you can pull your freight cars, and it actually can stretch a little bit too. So like the hook comes out a little bit. You can't really see it too well on here because I don't have a huge weight attached to the truck, but if I push it out like this, and then I guess I might use my foot really quick, I can see the red crowbar coming out there, and the one on Thomas too. So yeah, there's that. That's a pretty cool feature I think I've been able to incorporate into here. So yeah, I also on this Thomas locomotive, if I show you again, these are actually pretty easy to uncouple. You just do that. But anyways, on the bottom, you can see that I just kind of simplified my axles here. The axles are just the basic 6-long Technic axle attached to the wheels instead of the smoother running one I showed you in the suspension video. And that's because the way that the front and back axles here are built, well, like the frames around them, it makes it so that that would actually collide with the other ones. Like it won't roll as easily, and if it shifts just slightly, it stops the axle completely. And since I'm already using plates for the frames, which aren't really too well connected, I mean, they held up well, but they're just not connected well. It makes it so that if it shifts just slightly, the entire frame could break. So, yeah, that's probably part of why he doesn't run as well, but he still rolls, like, really well. And once you figure out how to motorize him or something, it's probably not going to be a big problem. Some other things I've been doing lately. I built this signal here, and I built a new layout for my trains. So I've got the buffers there, I've got some ballast and some ties, and I've also got a little mock-up of a smaller flange on the Lego small wheel. So yeah, Earlier I mentioned the size of Thomas. Just in case you're curious, he's so 30 studs is about the same length as the Orient Express locomotive. If I can pull it over here really quick, I can show you. So here is the Orient Express locomotive. It's only 8 studs wide, but it's about the same. It's actually slightly longer than Thomas. So Thomas is about as long as the locomotive section of the Orient Express, if you count the little back of the cab there. I think he's actually very slightly larger, but honestly, if you've got both of these locomotives, they kind of look in scale with each other, so it doesn't matter too much. Yeah, that's another thing I recently got. I recently got the Orient Express set because I wanted to see how that was put together so I could figure out how to build like Annie and Clarabelle and Gordon when I get around to making them. I also got it at a really good time because I got the Northern Lights set at just the right time. Well, no, I got the Orient Express at just the right time because it came with the Northern Lights set and it has the glow-in-the-dark moon piece. And I actually got 2 of them, so that's what this white tile on this headlight brick is. And what's really cool about this piece is that it glows in the dark. That's why I put it on here. So yeah, it glows in the dark and it makes for a really cool effect if you don't want to, like if you want to kind of light your trains but not use any of the third-party elements, you could probably get just a bunch of those glow-in-the-dark tiles and then charge them up and put them on your train. It will shine pretty bright in the dark. It does give off kind of a green hue though, so you might want to use it for more green lights if you're more into that. I also, if you noticed, have 3D printed the side rods for Thomas. And I've still got to print them, but they're there. I also have an example of what a 3D printed face would look like for Thomas right here. The only problem was I accidentally printed it a whole stud too small, so it does not fit on where his face should be. But let me know if you're interested in me actually putting the faces on, because it would look, I think it would look a lot cooler with faces on it. Like, yeah, if you could imagine that, like a classic Thomas angry face on there or something, I think that would be really cool. Just if you guys think that would be cool, just let me know so I can get around to it sooner. Yeah, I also built the signal here. I don't know if I mentioned that earlier. Also, this freight car that I showed off a little bit earlier. Well, the coupling just broke on it, but anyways, it would have, when this is complete, it would have suspension similar to the one on Thomas, with like that bar there and everything. And it actually rolls really well on the track. Like, if I can put it on the track without it falling apart, which it already did, you can just roll it really well. You just have to flick it a little bit. I'd say it's definitely not as well rolling as with some of the ball bearings you can get for your Lego trains, like that some people make. Like, I'm pretty sure that if you had those, your trains would roll a lot smoother. But if you're going for what I'm doing with like just building as realistic as possible and like trying to make things function but not caring too much if they are the best functioning, then yeah, this is a pretty good solution for that. So yeah, that's about all I've got for today. Yeah, this is my new Thomas the Tank Engine. So thanks for watching. Let me know if there's anything else you'd like me to build in the future, and have a great day. Sorry about the cutout. I've been running out of storage on my phone, so